the big question that remains here for this Yankees offseason to start is, what do they do with Cody Bellinger? Because I think there's a huge variance of what does he get long term? Are there a lot of other teams in the bidding for Cody Bellinger? Are the Yankees just bidding against themselves at a certain point? But also at the same time, what's the cost for a guy who's going to be 30? And I don't know, Joel, I get concerned when you start getting into 5, 6, 7 year deals for a guy who's going to be 30 years old and has dealt with back injuries before. Like, we've seen him miss games this year back with nursing a back injury. And I know he has the position versatility, but there becomes a certain point in time where his athleticism will decline. It just happens when you hit your 30s. Like, you're not the same athlete as you were in your 20s. I get concerned that the Yankees are going to tie themselves up into another DJ LeMahieu-like contract with a Cody Bellinger. Could you potentially see them trying to negotiate less years with more AAV for a Cody Bellinger return?
Yeah, you're asking all the right questions, I think, Ryan. And yet I feel like even if you're a Yankee fan who feels that way, as you are, the day he signs for 6 years someplace else, the feeling will be, they blew it, right? Like, if he does it, and maybe not for you, but like that generalized, hell again. I think there's a very strong market for Cody Bellinger. He's a very talented player, but there is, and I wrote about this over the weekend, there is question about what that means. I think you know this because in shows at this time last year, I was screaming, the Yankees got to go get Cody Bellinger in a trade. I loved Cody Bellinger. Then I watched him play for a year, and I like it even more. Like, I think he is got 5 tools, and I think that the most important thing that comes with 5 tools is knowing how to use them, because you have a high baseball IQ, pretty good motor, get on the field. Like, he was everything you want. And in a way, if he goes, you've now replicated Soto, right? You traded for Soto, had him for a year, had great results, let him go. You had Bellinger you traded for. Are you going to let him walk out? Maybe also to the Mets, for all we know. If they don't really solve center field and/or first base, he's a guy who could go there, which would be incredible. Again, considering what used to be the Wilponian way of doing things, is that guy would walk out the door. The question on Bellinger that comes up over and over and over again, Ryan, is about volatility of result. Like, if you go to his WAR, there's highs and lows and highs and lows. And last year was a high again. And that volatility, I wrote about this, if you saw it, is if you try to find somebody like that, it's a lot like Jacoby Ellsbury, who also was a free agent after age 29. Go look at Jacoby Ellsbury. There's 6 WAR, there's 2 WAR, there's 5 something WAR, there's 1 something, and it was bounce, strong year. The Yankees signed him for 7 at 153, and as we know, that was a disaster. Now, I think Cody Bellinger loves baseball. I didn't think Jacoby Ellsbury loved baseball, and I would not give long-term money to somebody who doesn't burn to play. That's a mistake, and I think he burns to play. It's one of the questions I wonder about Kyle Tucker. Does Kyle Tucker burn to play? I know Cody Bellinger burns to play. I think there's some questions about the motor and the desires on somebody like Tucker that have been expressed to me by organizations. But Bellinger's also played in the 3 largest markets you can play in: Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York. We know that's not going to bother him. Nope. He's excelled in all 3 places. I love the player. I would stretch somewhat for him.
Okay.
But does stretch mean 5 at 110, or does stretch mean 7 at 210? Like, that's $100 million delta. And you could tell me, like, I just did this on one of the videos we did, Ryan, for the Post. Mm-hmm. One of the things that an executive said to me recently, and it's been talked about before with me, that's I love the saying, is you never know who finishes second for a player. Like, it doesn't matter if everyone offers 5 at 110. That's the generally accepted number for Cody Bellinger. If someone offers 7 at 210, that's what wins. And it doesn't matter that the Yankees kind of got it right in the sense that everyone was in this place and one team decided we have to have him, or we don't know how to read the market. Like, most people I talk to think Pete Alonso will be kept to 3 or 4 years. If some team out there says, I need Pete Alonso, and gives him 6 years, then that we'll never know who finished second.
Right.
That will be the only thing that matters. They're both Scott Boras clients. Boras has already gotten more for like Dylan Cease than I saw coming. Even with deferrals, it was a larger deal than I saw. There's been a lot of times over the years where that like Scott knows how to play the market, and it only takes one. It only takes one. It doesn't matter what consensus is. What matters is there a team out there that looks at Cody Bellinger and says, I don't see fluctuation. I see a guy who's gotten married, who's matured, who since he's gone to Chicago has been a really exceptional player again. Maybe not MVP 2019 Dodger Cody Bellinger, but a really good player. I think that. And I would extend a little for it, but I understand the trepidation in the industry, the LeMahieu trepidation in the industry about like age and athleticism and fluctuating previous stuff. He does have a somewhat complicated swing. So I get it. I happen to really appreciate this player.
Right. You're willing to look past those, let's say, volatility and what could be uncertain, but for the player you believe in, that like, hey, I believe in what his process is, what his results are currently. Like, I believe that player can still be valuable for you.
So I would think of it like this, Ryan. What do I think his floor is for the next 5 years? I think his floor is, I don't think he's that guy who the Dodgers decided to non-tender. I think that was a different guy emotionally. I think it was a different guy physically. I think this player has got it going on now in his life and in how he approaches baseball. He went to a hitting factory last year that really seemed to help him, a place in Atlanta. He seems much more stable, married, child, etc. off the field. So I think the floor is, say, like a 2-win player, which is, if you think a win is worth like $8 to $10 million, it should be 16 to 20 a year. And I think he's probably got a chance in the next 5 years to have multiple 4 or 5 win seasons. So if the number is in the 20 to 25 area for 5 or 6 years, I think that's a legit deal for the guy.
Okay.
I do. But I understand the trepidation. And the one breadcrumb, and there's not many that are dropped these days around here, is Brian Cashman did mention that the team has gotten very left-handed.
I was going to follow up with this. So does the Trent Grisham qualifying offer, $22 million, does that make the Yankees like say, you know what, Bellinger, we love you, but like we are extremely left-handed now where that Trent Grisham is coming back on a 1-year deal. And we do have Dominguez, who's a switch hitting outfielder, but Judge is the righty. It's McMahon, it's Jazz, it's Ben Rice, Austin Wells. Like, it's a lot of left-handed hitters in this lineup. I know he acknowledged he needs to get balance. Does Bellinger provide balance, even though he does hit left on left, which is a key quality I think you really, really like?
Again, like everything you could like about a baseball player, Cody Bellinger showed last year. Like, not afraid of a big moment, hit left on left. You know, he was really good. Again, I would extend a little for him. I don't think it was just a walk-year magic thing. But hypothetically, if you were thinking, what does Cody Bellinger look like? It probably looks a lot like Stephen Kwan. Like, is that the kind of player you could trade for in this marketplace? And he suddenly is such an obvious leadoff hitter. He's arguably even a better left field defender than Bellinger. And Bellinger was the best the Yankees have had by a lot since Brett Gardner.
Yeah.
So like you get those two qualities, you lose some power. The cost in dollars, though, you're going to have to give up real stuff if you're going to get Kwan. But like that kind of player, if that's the next step down to it, but he's left-handed also.
He's also left-handed, which is why I find it curious.
So are they telling us that it's a righty bat? And if you start playing that game and you start playing, hey, they'd like to go in the season, they've been, for luxury tax purposes, I think between like 315 and 320 the last 2 seasons, which means you want to go into the season projected at about 310. So in July, you could get to 315 with some more trades. It would mean they have, as of this moment, let's say they were willing to go to 310. It's about 25 to 30 million maybe to spend still. Now, could they trade Luis Heel? Maybe. Could they trade Jazz? Maybe. Could they trade Camilo Doval? Maybe. Those are all guys who make some money and they could therefore. But the moment you trade one of those guys, like you trade Jazz,
You got to
need a
replace
second
him.
base.
Yeah, you need a
You
second
know, you
baseman.
trade Hill at a point where you don't know who your April rotation
Yes.
is already with Rodon and Cole down. You have what? If you trade Duvall, you're still going to need more guys.
More bullpen
You already need more
pieces.
guys to pitch the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings in front of Bednar. So if you got 30 to spend, it would be hard to do 25 on Bellinger. And then
Locks you
also
up.
feel like we're going to get relievers. So are they telling us? And again, I'm just making up names here. I just want to always be clear that the Yankees are not handing out pieces of paper. These are things. But like, are they like, hey, can we sign back Ahmad Rosario to help us with a righty bat in the infield? Go look at his track record. He's going to hit lefties almost as well as anyone in the sport who's not like Judge, etc. He's in that next tier down. And Lane Thomas kind of player. None of it will cost you a lot. They're both. Now, Lane Thomas was hurt last year, and he could be shot. He's a player I like a lot, so I bring it up. But based on last year, he was dealing with plantar fasciitis, and he was a bad baseball player last year. But if you think that's a correctable thing and there's still a lot there, you're like, hey, can we do Rosario and like Lane Thomas? I'm just using two names.
Yeah.
Feel like two extra right-hand bats. And because we believe we have Aaron Judge, we have Giancarlo Stanton, we have Jazz Chisholm, we have Austin Wells, who we think it will hit 25 homers. We have Ben Rice, who we think might be a version of Kyle Schwarber light,
Right.
who's about to play first base. We don't need necessarily, like, look at the Blue Jay model that actually beat them in both the AL East and in the playoffs last year. It was a lot of Davis Schneider, Addison Barger, Ernie Clement, really good players who were doing it around one real superstar in Guerrero.
Yep.
So, like, can you make the group long and talented in that way as a positional group? I think that is possible, and that they're just seeing on Bellinger. I think the Yankees are in wait and see and say, hey, if it is 5 at 110, yes. But if it's closer to 7 at 210, no. And now we're going to plan B, which is maybe Quan or a couple of really good supplementary righty bats around what are already entrenched stars. I would think that's, I'm not in their room. I don't see their dry board, but I've covered the team a long time. And I know that this group has got a plan A and a B and a C and a D. And then it's like, okay, now we haven't spent a lot of money on two position players. Who's the really good reliever? Like, can we take something and go trade? We could trade a little more. Trade with Kansas City for Carlos Estevez, who makes like $12 million. Like, now we could do that because and someplace in plan G or H or I are all kinds of stuff. I do think plan A is Cody Bellinger, but at their price.